To manage custom/central invoices, go to the Reports page. Custom/central invoices are created here. Custom invoice, additional invoices created. Normal panel invoices are created using patient's visits after the billing, in collection page, is done. For custom invoice is created without any visits, or with upcoming visits. If custom invoice is created for future visits, e.g. bulk medical examination in the future/upcoming date, the visits must be charged zero because the panel is already invoiced with custom invoice, otherwise the visits will be double invoiced. Central invoice, patients' visits from on-clinic and connected clinics are compiled into central invoice. For central invoice, patients' visits are billed as usual in the collection page. In order to use central invoice, the panel must be marked as centralized panel, in panels page, and the panel must be extended to the connected clinics. Custom invoice and central invoice are not the same. Let's create a custom invoice now. Click New. Search and select the panel here. If the company is not a panel, the company name and details can be typed in here. Note that any new company entered manually here, without selecting from existing panels list, will be automatically added as panel. Upon selecting the panel, these details will be automatically filled in. For new company that is not in the panel list, these details must be manually typed in. Specify the invoice date here. Specify the invoice due date here. Enter the invoice title here. And click Save Info to save. An invoice number will be created. The new invoice number. The items of the invoice can only be entered once the invoice is saved and invoice number is available. Before entering the item, specify these headers. Specify the headers appropriately. To enter an item, select the date here. Enter the detail of the item here. In this example, the detail is name. The items in custom invoice can be patients, services or products. Enter the reference, or any detail according to the header, here. Enter the cost of this item here. If necessary, enter the remarks/notes for the item here. Click Add to save this item into this custom invoice. The added item will now be listed in the invoice. The items cannot be edited directly. To edit, delete this item by clicking Del and re-enter the item. To enter more items, repeat the same here. Let's see how this custom invoice will look like. Specify the period and select the panel here. Click View Invoices/Debit Notes. This is the custom invoice that was just created. Note that custom/centralized invoices will have add at the end of the invoice number. Click View to show the invoice. This is the custom invoice that was just created. If the custom invoice is created for upcoming visits for patients, during the actual visit make sure the charges are zero. This is because this visit has already been invoiced under custom invoice. Therefore, it is important to maintain a list of the patients that have been already invoiced under custom invoice so that the visits are not accidentally charged. Here this visit is charged zero as it has been invoiced already in custom invoice. If the custom invoice is not posted, it can be edited here. Search and select the panel with custom invoice here. And click View. If any item needs to be edited, delete by clicking Del and re-enter. To create another custom invoice, click Reset. The next custom invoice can be created by clicking Add. Now let's create a centralized invoice. The panel that the centralized invoice is to be created for must have centralized panel ticked in the panel page. And the connected clinics/branches must have this panel as extended panel in their Intel sys. Connected clinics/branches with this panel extended will be listed here. Go to the Reports page to create a centralized invoice. Specify the period to list the visits from. Click New. Click Centralized Panels List to list all centralized panels in the clinic. Select the centralized panel from this list to create the invoice for. The details of the panel will be filled up here upon selection. Specify the invoice date. Specify the invoice due date. Enter the title of this invoice here. And click Save Info to create this invoice and generate a new invoice number. This is the generated invoice number. Adding of visits into this invoice is only possible after this invoice number is generated. For centralized invoice, do not manually add patients here. Click Linked Branches to list all connected clinics/branches and also the own clinic. There are two methods to import the visits from clinics into this invoice. This is method 1 where the visits can be imported clinic by clinic, including visits from own clinic. This is method 2 where the visits can be imported in bulk. Note that for bulk visits import, the panel must be extended from this clinic. Visits from own clinic can only be imported via method 1. Let's import the visits using the first method. Note that visits from own clinic must also be imported by selecting own clinic from this list. When a clinic is selected, the extended panels in the clinic will be listed here. Select the panel from this list. Click List VNs from selected clinic and panel to list the visits billed under the selected panel from the selected clinic. These are the patients in the selected clinic billed under the selected panel. By default, all visits are selected. The visits can be excluded from import by unticking the checkboxes. Once the selection is confirmed, click Import to import the visits into this central invoice. The selected visits are now imported into this central invoice. Make sure to select the appropriate headers here. The clinics where the visits were imported from will be shown here, along with the VN in those clinics. To extract the visits using method 2, bulk import, select the extended clinics here. Note that visits from own clinic cannot be imported using method 2 and must be imported using method 1. Click this button to start the import process. Just like method 1, the visits from the clinics will be imported into this invoice. The exclamation marks, indicate that no visits were imported from these clinics. The green check marks, indicate that visits were imported from these clinics. The visits imported into this invoice can be filtered by clinic by selecting the clinic here. The central invoice can be viewed/posted/printed via View Invoices/Debit Notes. The clinics where the visits were imported from will be indicated under Remark. It is important to note that for visits from own clinic that were included in the central invoice, sales reversal will be done automatically. This is because sales were already recognized when the visits were billed in the collection page. So when centralized invoice is created with the own clinic's visits imported into them, sales is recognized again for the second time. This will be erroneous as sales are recognized twice. In order to rectify this, the first sales, as recorded in collections page, are reversed automatically when own clinic's visits are imported into the central invoice. To check these reversals, go to the admin page. Click Account. Specify the period. Scroll down, select Income and click View. The reversals are shown under Central INV Reversal. It is important for the accountants to understand and include these reversals in order to get the correct sales figures. That's it. You're done.